unified the belt, beat Shawn Porter in a hell of a fight. Talk to us about that experience, man. That was a crazy fight. Jack and I both obviously shouted you out. I've been a fan for a minute. Jack been a fan for a minute. We did our little shout outs, but to be able to watch you two go to war and you come out on top and pick that belt up. Talk to us about that.
It was a great fight. I think I made it a lot harder than it was supposed to be because just the weight drop. I came down from I think 189 pounds. To 147. So in a matter of probably 9 weeks. So the whole training camp, I was running 2 times a day. Hitting the bag in the sauna suit. Just training in sauna suits and just replenishing myself, losing weight. And I just made it a lot harder than it was supposed to be. And I could have made it a lot easier. It was a great fight. We both showed a lot of heart and determination. I know he's been calling for a rematch, but unfortunately, that's gonna have to wait. I got a lot of.
I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see that again.
You got guys like Manny Pacquiao that I've been, trying to fight. He's the cash cow right now. He's the cash cow. So that's the guy I definitely want.
Garcia, Bud Crawford been talking.
Yeah.
You got some formidable opponents ahead of you.
Those were the words of the WBC and IBF welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson in the episode of All the Smoke. James Bell of Boxing Source here with another video. And this video here is to talk about those particular comments from Errol Spence Jr. in reference to his fight with Shawn Porter. That was for the WBC and IBF welterweight championships, and where he basically talks about what happened before that particular fight, where he said that he had to come down from 189 pounds to 147. 42 pounds. 42 pounds. Coming down to 42 pounds. Now, the thing about it is that, like you had, Errol Spence Jr., in that particular year, he was, going from, the fight that he had against Mikey Garcia to the fight against Shawn Porter within the span of 6 months. And he said here in this episode that he had to come from 189 down to 147 in the span of 8 to 9 weeks. So after he basically made weight for his fight against Mikey Garcia, that was in AT&T Stadium in March, he ballooned up to 189 pounds and then had to cut all that down to 147 in order to fight Shawn Porter for those unified championships. And that kind of tells me that, he is not going to be in welterweight that long. But with the whole thing about the situation with COVID-19, that, he did say that he wants to get, at least 3 fights at welterweight out of the way. That he would want to fight a Manny Pacquiao, he would want to fight Danny Garcia, and then he would have that fight with Terrence Crawford for what could be the undisputed welterweight championships. And, with the thing is, with how he's had that particular condition now after those 2 fights, you have those 2 fights with Mikey Garcia and then Shawn Porter. And now you have, the accident that he went through. And now he's going through the process of getting himself back into, fighting shape, where, at least for now, the plan is to try to get him in the ring by October or November. But with that being the case, you would have that supposed 3-fight plan for him where he would fight, Pacquiao or Danny Garcia. Well, it could be Danny Garcia first. And then Manny Pacquiao, which could be for the WBC, WBA, and IBF welterweight championships. And then the undisputed welterweight championship between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, which is the highest demanded fight in the welterweight division right now. But he said that, that fight between him and Crawford has to be, right for both of those guys so that they get the most money possible. Had a video on here talking about what Terrence Crawford said in reference to Errol Spence, and Errol Spence has basically said the same thing in reference to Terrence Crawford, that they've, FaceTimed each other and, talked a lot of trash back and forth, and it's been like that and it's going to be like that until they actually have a fight. But this thing here about Errol Spence having to come down from 189 to 147 for his fight against Shawn Porter, and later on in this particular episode, he talks about coming down from basically 180 or 185 to 147, where I pretty much thought it was like maybe like a 160, 165. But he said like 180, 185, and like right now he's trying to cut that overall weight down so that he is around that 160 to 165 range, so that he doesn't have to cut down that much weight in preparation for a fight against anybody, regardless of who it is. It could be against a Danny Garcia, a Manny Pacquiao, a Terrence Crawford. But if you're going to spend a lot of that time trying to cut weight, you're really not going to be preparing for your opponent, or not have that much time to prepare for your opponent. So that's what he's kind of like focusing on doing right now during this quarantine period, is that he's trying to cut down that extra weight that he has, so that he gets down to pretty much around 170, and then maybe to like 165 or so that when a fight is official, that he just has to work on going down to 147 from being at 165 or something like that, instead of 180, which would kind of have him working a lot harder to try to cut down that weight, instead of focusing on getting the weight out of the way first and then preparing for his fight against the opponent, regardless of who that opponent is. That's what I got in reference to this particular topic, referring to Errol Spence Jr. You get to subscribe to the Boxing Source here on YouTube, or catch the Boxing Source radio show live Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio, or catch the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.